I'm Rachel Alday, and this is the Hospitality Break Room, a podcast full of nuggets and secret sauce, where every Monday we'll shed light on what we've learned from the countless mistakes we've made along our journey in the chaotic and rewarding world of vacation rentals. Hi, and welcome back to the Hospitality Break Room. I'm Rachel Alday, and today I have with me two very special guests. One is Ashley Chang, and she is the founder and CEO of Inhaven, which is an amazing organization that Abode has partnered with, which we'll explain all about that to you. And then Julie from my team. Julie, how long have you been with Abode?
I think about 3.5 years now.
Gosh, I love it. I always say that like most of our team is about 4 to 10 years. Like the bulk of our team is like a lot of longevity. And you're making me feel like I'm being like honest, because sometimes I'm just like estimating and I don't know, but that's almost 4. So yeah. Okay. So Julie's background on the team, she started at Black Bear. Okay. So she started on our guest services team at Black Bear Lodge, which is located at Deer Valley in Park City. And it's a like a condo development where we manage about 25 units and we have a front desk there. And then from there, she moved into green initiatives. Is that right?
Yes.
And became our impact manager. Is that right?
Yes.
And then that was because her focus, she just loved like trying to help us as a company become more ecologically minded and like take account of the things that we were doing, that we could not hurt the environment and do things more safely. And because of her work, we ended up winning an award in Park City. That was what was it?
It was called Zest for Zero, because it's the people that are newest to the green business program who came out with a bang, basically. So yeah,
it was really, really cool and impressive. Yes. Thank you, Julie. It was all Julie that did that. And then she started moving into creating our property enhancement program, which she literally just came up with because she was seeing that some of the houses needed to be like updated, and we needed not only did we need to update like the glassware and the plates and the stuff in the kitchen, because maybe people would start running out of spoons or whatever, but then also, things having to do with the bathrooms and the rest of the house. And Julie would, take note of places that needed upgrades or remodels. And so that caused us to create a whole program. Julie created it, called Property Enhancement. So that's like the majority of her role now. And she ended up really able to kind of supercharge the property enhancement program because she met Ashley with Inhaven, and it was just like kismet timing, like everything in our business. And then we've gotten to be really close with Ashley and her team, and they've really helped us do a good job in terms of keeping properties up to date and having a better way and a better process and a system to be successful with property enhancement. And also they've helped us a ton with our linen program. So what Ashley does is like it's grown a lot and it's pretty interesting and complicated. So we decided we were going to start by talking about was it the process that Ashley's helped us with in terms of being able to create a way to show our homeowners what we would recommend for them to have in their kitchens and baths, and how we can help explain that in a way that makes them understand and want to participate in the program that we have. And then from there, we'll kind of get into some stuff about standardization and that kind of stuff. And so if you're a homeowner and you're listening, this is interesting because obviously property enhancement, this is an important thing. You want to make revenue with your house. You want to maintain your investment, but through usage, you're going to need to keep it up. But how do you do that if you're not there all the time? Well, if you're with Abode, you have Julie, who's on our team, who's doing an inspection in all the houses each year and making recommendations for property enhancement. But how does Julie do that? Because that's a lot. She does it with Inhaven. And so we'll go into this process.
Sure.
So where do you want to start?
Yeah, let's start process.
Okay.
So, at Inhaven, we really work closely with our property managers to define their standards for the bed, bath, and kitchen so that, they don't have different dinnerware and cutlery and linens in all the homes. And that just becomes a nightmare to manage because it just takes the team so much time to find replacements.
And like counting 2 forks, 7 spoons, one knife.
Exactly. So it's really helping to save the team time, but it's also providing the homeowners with a lot more transparency.
Yeah.
If something breaks, what's going to be replaced? And so we've worked really closely with Julie to create materials that show here are the Abode standards for the bed, bath, and kitchen. And here's what we would like the homeowners to buy into. And so being super transparent with them They're getting access to hospitality grade, super durable items at a very affordable price.
I mean, what we used to do in the old days from day one
Mm-hmm.
is like we had this spreadsheet that I created.
Mhm.
And I mean, originally it was like Excel, then it became Google because, and it was literally just a spreadsheet with all the items that we would recommend and like the link to it on Bed Bath & Beyond, which doesn't even exist anymore. And then the price and then the simple calculation in a spreadsheet of like this times this many that we recommend.
Mm-hmm.
And that just is no homeowner wants to get a massive ass spreadsheet and then like click on the links. Like it was very hard to get anyone to even agree. And then when they would ask us like, well, how did you choose this item or that? It was like, I just picked it. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think that's part of what Inhaven has helped with is like Inhaven already has this sort of curated selection. It's tiered out based on, what level of properties that the company that they're working with works with. So because we're a boat and we do high-end stuff, we're using their highest level of stuff. And they're recommending, certain, like you said, commercial grade stuff so that we're getting good prices. But it's like you can replace things. That if like, you need to get some more forks next year, they're not going to be like, oh, we don't have that style anymore.
Yeah. My background is in sourcing and supply chain.
Oh yeah,
I've
tell them what
traveled
your background
all
is. This
over
is so cool.
the world. I like global merchandising operations at Tiffany and Company. I was the chief merchandising officer at the Company Store, which is a Home Depot company, and traveled all over the world and met with, a lot of home furnishing suppliers, a lot of textile suppliers. And what was very interesting when I would go and visit them is they had two main lines.
Oh yeah, I love this. Okay.
One for retail that
Yeah.
you and I would buy for our own home. So things that you find in Macy's or Amazon.
Yeah.
And then one for the hotels and restaurants. And so as I have 4 young kids, and so we travel a lot. And as I was traveling out to these vacation rentals to stay in them, we would find places on Airbnb or Vrbo. The pictures look great. The location was ideal.
Yeah.
But we would show up to terrible beds and
Mhm.
missing pots and pans. And it was, we'd find ourselves just dropping our luggage and running to like the nearest store, which we didn't even know where it was because
Yeah.
we weren't familiar with the area. We were new and searching for these products. And so a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, how are these property managers or these hosts sourcing products? This is not for your own home. This is a hospitality
We
setting.
haven't had anything until Inhaven.
Exactly.
Right.
So how do I bring and how does my team bring these hospitality grade goods that are typically only available to hotel and restaurants, other hospitality industries, to the vacation rental industry? So
Yeah.
you're getting access to way more durable products that will withstand the wear and tear that guests, do on your homes. And how do we bring that to you in a much, more efficient manner? So that's really
And
the
I think,
background on that.
I mean, it's really helped. And I'll let you
Mhm.
talk about
Yeah.
this too. But, the way that we can present it to homeowners is like part of the path if you're going to have success or not for them to agree to, let's say they have some stuff like, let's say we're talking about the kitchen. They have some plates, some sort of like hodgepodge, one style for the salad plates, another style for the dinner plates. And then they have, a lot of times homeowners might have even like a really fancy house that might rent for $2,000 a night. They might have like one set of silverware that's incomplete. And then they just got a whole new another set. So now they have like more than what they need, but it's all hodgepodge. So it's like, how do you get them to put in the investment, which is not a huge investment, but to say like, you need all new plates and glassware and silverware, because we cannot be offering or having people pay this much per night, but they're coming in and having like mismatched place settings when they're having dinner with their family.
Right.
It's always been hard to sell that in. And Inhaven's making it easier. You want to tell them?
Yeah,
how to
I
do
mean, I
that?
think that was one of our main issues when we went into a house and I'd look and there'd be 3 styles of flatware.
Yeah.
And what I used to do at the beginning was that I would take the one with the predominant amount and I would take a picture of it and I would try to source it
Mhm.
and match it for them, right? Well, that quickly became totally
Impossible.
inefficient for me.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. And so the big sell for me with the Inhaven flatware is, look, we're going to start you over.
Yeah.
But you won't have to buy a whole new set next time.
Right.
When you're missing like 3 teaspoons, which you're always going to be missing at the end of a season.
Yeah.
I can just sell you 3 teaspoons from Inhaven.
Right.
And we'll keep this set going for a much longer period of time.
Yeah. And it's commercial. So it's going to be available for a longer period of time
Right.
consistently. And it's replaceable. Like onesie, twosie is replaceable.
Even your dinnerware, we have a 5-year chip-free warranty. So even
Yeah.
if it chips, the dinnerware chips, Julie just sends us a picture and we replace it for free. So
And that's the other thing. Huge
Yeah.
selling point with,
Yeah.
with when we're flipping to
Mhm.
dishware. Because
Right.
a lot of times, like the last house that we did had 5 different styles of dinnerware.
Right.
Because like, oh, they're still good or these are still good or whatever. But it's like, well, we're really going for kind of a standardized look here. And when you do, pull the trigger on it,
Right.
then you've got this chip guarantee.
And even if, like, I know sometimes there's some sort of a chip guarantee, sometimes with certain stuff you can buy retail. But if you're doing that as the homeowner, you're going to have to like make sure you keep your receipt for 5 years or whatever, however long they give you. Find the thing on your credit card bill. You're going to have to mail it off somewhere. And then they probably mail you like a coupon to take back to this. Like, forget it. No.
Because I can do this without even letting the owner know.
Right.
I mean, it's like 2 plates broke. Okay, so I'm going to get 2 plates for you and stick them back in. And that's it. It's done.
And this can happen through Inhaven, which has like their own team. It's all facilitated.
Exactly.
So that's just like, it's absolute game changer. So it's like if you're a property manager or vacation rental company and you're hearing about what Inhaven does, it's like, first of all, if you don't have a property enhancement program or a program where you're trying to create a standard for the kitchens and bathrooms and everything that's in there, that's a huge step. And that's something that sometimes happens as you get a little further on in the company. But honestly, the smartest move would be to do that from the very beginning. Rob and I, there was no Inhaven when we started 17 years ago when we started Abode. And we didn't have options like that. But now you have that. So from the property management vacation rental standpoint, this is like an amazing tool that is only now available. I think there's a couple like companies that do something like this, but we have, after a lot of research, found that Inhaven is like definitely, they have the best options available. They have the best tools to make this work for our homeowners. So that's something to think about. And then from the homeowner standpoint, like if you have this really nice house and it's your real estate investment and you're trying to create revenue with it, sometimes it's somewhat common for people to begin to forget that how important all the details in the kitchen and bath and everything else is. And so, if you know that the company that's managing your house is operating a property enhancement program and or working with a company like Inhaven, then you know that this property, when you go to show up there, you're not showing up to 2 wine glasses and 1 tablespoon or whatever. Because if there's a program like this that the company you work with is participating in, then there's a lot higher chance that your home is going to stay maintained all the way down to all the details, everything in the drawers. And I think it's something that we used to not be able to in our industry care about as much. And it's part of that, like how the sausage is made thing. Like when we want homeowners to kind of understand there's all these details that go into making your house, being able to price your house at the highest nightly rate, and then also get good reviews when people are spending that higher rate. And some of that is the details. I should have looked this up before we did this podcast, but we have a huge percentage of our reviews that come in when they're positive. They make a comment. I send them to Julie every time. We should go count them. But they'll say like, the stay was great. The house was just as pictured and the location was amazing. And wow, the kitchen was so decked out. They had every single thing we needed. It was amazing. People mention that like way more than I would have ever anticipated. And that started after Julie started this property enhancement program and after she got on board with Inhaven. And that's what allowed us, like, there's so many, parts and pieces that go into making the property enhancement program successful. But this is a huge part of it is Inhaven. And it's like, because Inhaven's thought it through and because Ashley has access to these vendors, it's created just such a higher opportunity for success to have our homeowners understand the importance of all of this and get the buy-in. And I think homeowners probably just feel like, they feel lucky that Julie explains all this to them and that their property is being maintained, but there's so much behind it, which really is like an entire business that Ashley has.
Well, and I have to say that building this program, a huge part of that was Ashley holding my hand because I really didn't have a lot of background.
Yeah, I mean, how
it.
could you?
I mean, I had a lot of passion for what I wanted to do and questions, and I was willing to get in there, out in the field and get in the trenches and figure it out. But also really key points to things that were not part of my right brain type of thinking came from Ashley, so, and I can always call her and she'll always respond, or Nikki will respond.
Yeah.
Like within a heartbeat. And especially at the beginning, like they were there right away when I had questions about linens or, all these things that were so new to me.
It's intimidating to start a program like this.
Well, and I think, one thing that's really special about our team is we care just as much as you guys do. So
you can totally feel that.
Shipment that is running late. I mean, I feel it.
Yeah,
right.
I know
Julie,
Nikki does too.
And we all do. And I think we become an extension of your team. Like, or I view myself as an extension.
Yeah.
You feel just as invested in Abode success.
I just invited Ashley to actually come to our company retreat. So like, she's not even joking. So
So I mean, we're really in the trenches with you guys, and we want you to be successful. We want your homeowners to be successful. So
It makes
it's
a
a
huge
great
difference.
partnership. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. I wish so today's episode, usually we record it, and I know we have millions and millions of listeners, and I know you guys all watch us on YouTube, but actually in the real world and not in my fantasy land in my head, like nobody watches the video, so I'm not that worried that we're not recording, but I kind of wish we were because Ashley has like really good visuals and it would have been cool to be able to show that. But that's okay.
You could maybe in the show notes.
Yeah, in the show notes we can link. Oh my God, I love
Yes,
it.
okay.
We have show notes. Okay, so let's try to explain, like,
Sure.
just because we'll just give like a framework to like give a mental picture, because the main difference, like I said, is like we used to have this spreadsheet. Okay, like no one ever looked at my email when I sent that. They probably never replied. If they did, they were just like, either they were the kind of homeowner that was like, yeah, okay, whatever, or they were like, I don't know, I'm gonna go pick my own. They did not want to mess with my spreadsheet, which I get.
Yep.
But now in Inhaven, this is part of like the success plan that happened between Inhaven and Julie, is like they've given us tools so we can really show the homeowner what we're talking about. And then Julie can explain why these selections are made. And then we have like, I don't know, do you know what your percentage success rate is when you go to a homeowner? Like how often you could estimate this? Is it like 80% of the time they approve it, or?
Oh boy. I think that's not really associated with the program, but me getting to the point where I understand how to communicate with
Yeah,
them
yeah.
and doing more follow-up
Okay, yeah.
because I was so busy. But I will tell you that an in-person
Yeah.
meeting,
Yeah.
I would say that I almost always
Yeah.
get 100%.
I mean, I've
buy-in.
seen like I watch the emails sometimes, or like I, see the next steps that happen from when you get an approval. And
Mhm.
I've seen like just it's skyrocketing. Like it's like,
Yep.
we used to literally probably be 10% of the time people would agree.
Yep.
And a lot of times we were honestly putting new stuff in their house and paying for it ourselves because we could not handle putting a guest in the house without like full kitchen stock. And so now knowing that the homeowners are actually proving they're happy with what they're getting in there. Like, and I do think these tools are such an important part of it. So do you want to see if you guys can maybe sort of describe, like, I know it's an email, but there's also like a is it a website that we're sending them to where they can see
There's
things?
a page that Inhaven is made for abode owners.
It's like a white labeled. Is that
and it basically doesn't give them full reign of everything because that would get confusing.
Yeah.
And so it's basically the standardized items that we recommend that they can go in and actually see online.
Yeah.
And then also, like I mentioned to you, when I do have a homeowner in person, I take a nice selection of the items that we want to put in the home, and I take it and set it up on a table with and make it look nice. And that's been super effective.
Yeah. I mean, so on a couple previous episodes, I talked with Blake at one point, it was Miles that I talked to about this. And I forget, I think one other episode, but we talked about how, getting a house up to speed doing property enhancement has become a lot more successful. But then we talked about how when we start with a new home and we do the process to try to get them on board from the beginning, how much more successful that has been.
It is golden.
And how Rob and I used to be really afraid to push hard on that because with a new homeowner, we didn't want to piss them off before we even made them any money. And so I'll be honest, like for years, we did not push to get that stuff up to date before the first rental, which is so stupid. But we were operating out of fear, and I'll admit it. And I try not to do that as much anymore. And it is easier when you're in business longer and you have more confidence. But this program has allowed us to do something which we never thought we would really be able to do, which is, like Julie said, go in and meet with the homeowner in person right when we sign them as early as possible. And then she's going in with the actual goods, showing them they can touch it, which is kind of what people want when you're talking about like glassware, flatware, plates.
Right. Yeah.
And that's completely game changer.
I would say that like 90% of this, Rachel, is education.
Yeah.
So when that happens in an email, you get a really clunky email like the one I sent out my first year.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to put every bit of information
We all
in
have to start from
why
there. It's okay.
we do it.
Yeah.
And this way, because I've been a teacher and whatever. So I'm walking through the kitchen and explaining why do we get this certain kind of cookware? Why do we do this kind of thing? And it's really just because all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay.
Right.
And also we're on your team.
Yeah.
And trying to make this the best guest experience you can have.
Yeah.
And this is the responses we've had or complaints we've had from guests.
Yes.
And it's all very pertinent information, and they really just respond like crazy.
Yeah. I think, it's like, if you're a property manager, vacation rental company listening, you might not have the size where you can dedicate an entire person to property enhancement. But it is something to think about, making that part of someone's job, because part of what has made this successful is that Julie has been able to focus on it, take the time to do what she just talked about, learn about all these details from Inhaven so that she can then teach the homeowners. Like, that is a huge part of it. And see, when I was doing this, when Rob and I were just doing it ourselves, we didn't have that. We didn't have a resource like Inhaven and Ashley, and we didn't have the time to ever take to learn about everything. So we were just haphazardly putting stuff in houses. And, the homeowners can feel that. And it's like, let's break that tradition in vacation rentals, because we're small businesses. We don't have time. And there wasn't a tool. And so you just didn't have an option. But like, now we finally have the option. And so from the standpoint of the vacation rental company, it's like, take advantage of this thing that's out there. It is total game changer for the guest experience. And I should, maybe Helen, we can put something in the show notes, like put some sample reviews we've gotten, because we just get so many, like every day, I swear, at least every week, we are getting positive reviews that mention how well stocked the kitchen is.
Well, it's funny. I started Inhaven from a guest perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was really frustrated going to these homes and not knowing what I was going to walk into. But what's the most surprising thing I've found with Inhaven is actually the property managers want it more.
Yeah.
Because they realize you cannot have different items or be searching for that one flatware set. Like, that's just such a waste of time for your team. You need to have standards. You want to create a consistent guest experience. So if guests come back and stay in a different property, they have a similar experience. So that's been the biggest shock.
I mean, it's a huge way to get like repeat bookings from people.
Exactly.
Because a lot of times repeat bookings as a vacation rental company, it might not be at the same house. And then from the homeowner's perspective, obviously you want repeat bookings, people coming back to your house. So like, either way you shake it, whether you're looking at it from the company standpoint or the homeowner standpoint, this is only bolstering your ability to get repeat guests, to get them to go tell other people who might be a new guest, like, oh, I had this great experience, the kitchen was well stocked, to show that to potential new guests through the reviews online, like all of it. It's super like self-fulfilling, like exponential growth type stuff. And it's crazy because we, as a property management company, you think of all these marketing tactics and like ways to get more reach with people. Yeah. And as a homeowner, we get homeowners because a lot of our homeowners, these are big fancy houses, and our homeowners are mostly really successful people in business. They have ideas for us like, oh, here, we could market to my, I don't know, like YPO group or whatever it is. And it's like, all that is like great. But you know what actually freaking works? Making the house well outfitted in those more simple and basic ways, so that when the guests get there, they're not immediately kind of like bummed out that they're like, oh, these pots and pans are peeling, chemicals into our food or whatever. And so it's just like those little details that sometimes we think, oh, we can just kind of get it right and it'll be fine. But it's like, no, actually it matters so much more.
It brings us back to the whole history of the hotel
industry.
Yes.
Okay. I love this. Okay. Ashley has so much freaking information. It's been like life-changing. She's been doing this presentation at some conferences over the last couple of years, and it's like super impactful. And I'm trying to like find a way to get her to be able to present to my entire team. But she did present some of this stuff to my team, some of my team today. And I feel like everybody was glued to it, and I love it. So she's going to talk a little bit about the history of hotels and how the hotel standardization and sort of consolidation with branding changed the hotel industry, and how that is looking like that might be what's sort of happening in vacation rentals, and how, whether or not that happens, the standardization in vacation rentals will really be helpful, both from the property management standpoint, obviously, and the homeowners. So this is like such good information. So you probably just want to like mark the time, look at the time when this started, and then send this episode to all your friends and be like, okay, at moment 23 and 22 seconds, you better listen to this really cool information about the history of hotels and how it relates to vacation rentals. Okay, go.
So the vacation rental industry is very much in the same position that the hotel industry was 30 to 40 years ago. So if we think back to 30 to 40 years ago, so in the 70s, 80s, this was when more economical cars were introduced. So people could afford cars. They could afford to travel. They could afford the Ford Taurus or the Toyota Camry. At the same time, the U.S. government was investing in the entire interstate highway system. So now people afforded cars and they could travel. And what you found as a traveler is all these hotels, motels popping up along this highway system. But the guests were very frustrated because when you'd walk into these hotel motels, you had no idea what you're walking into, and you'd see colorful bedspreads, and really lumpy mattresses, lots of polyester. And so the guests were quite frustrated. And so everything changed when Westin launched the Heavenly Bed in the late 90s. Westin declared good sleep was no longer a luxury, it was a standard. And so they standardized this. They would show the bed in their hotel lobbies, and they standardized the bed across all of their Westin hotels. And so guests love this. They now suddenly knew when they booked a Westin, they were going to get a great night's sleep. And all of the other hotel brands followed suit. And what was very interesting, if you look back at the 1970s, about half of the hotels in the US, the supply was branded, and the other half were independent. And fast forward to now, 73% of the hotels in the US are branded hotels.
This is like such a cool graph that she has.
Yeah.
Maybe we can put some of this in the show
I'll put
notes
that in the
too.
show notes. Yeah.
It's like a graph that shows like the unbranded hotels and their growth, and it goes straight across the graph, totally flat from
Flat
the
growth.
70s
Yep.
up till now in the 2000s.
Yep.
And then it shows the growth of the branded and standardized hotels, and it's just like this huge upward curve. It's crazy.
And that's because guests demand certainty. They want to know when they're booking a Best Western or a Westin or a Ritz-Carlton what they're paying for.
Yeah.
And so the problem the vacation rental industry faces today is guests don't know what they're paying for. So we are in the same situation as we were in as the hotel industry. So from a technology perspective, we've got the distribution, the online travel agencies. We've got the Airbnbs and Verbos, making it very easy for guests to find vacation rentals in every destination. And it's very easy for people to list their homes on those distribution sites. In the last couple of years, obviously, we've had extreme policy changes with COVID and work from home. So suddenly people now can work remotely.
Yep.
And so vacation rentals are very attractive to this traveler. However, they don't know what they're walking into.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly where the hotel industry was 40 years ago.
Right. And we're like trying to show consistency through branding and through, good reviews and years in business, but it's not the same as what a traveler feels when they're going to go book. I mean, I've been in this business and had this business for 17 years. But even me, like if I know that I'm doing work travel or like something, or I'm going to be going somewhere quickly and I just want to make sure it's going to be for sure good, I will book like a certain type of hotel. And I think, that tells you that vacation rentals don't have that consistency. Even a brand like Abode, even other strong, well-proven brands in our industry, it's not the same level of consistency because we have not until now had tools to really help us actually execute those details with kitchen and bath, especially consistently. Or we haven't had a way to even purchase or get a selection of things to consistently put in houses on an ongoing basis. So like this is this massive game changer. Okay, so keep going.
Yeah. So really what we're focused on is how do we deliver more certainty to that guest experience? And so we're working with people like Abode, with these great local property managers to sort of set at more of a national level. If you walk into a luxury home, this is the types of sheets that you'll find. These are the types of kitchenware you'll find. And so the guests, as they travel from Abode to maybe Moving Mountains to Best Nest with Beverly Sorrell, they're going to have a very similar experience.
Yeah.
And we want to build more trust in the industry. And we think this is the route to do so.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about one of the things Ashley told us earlier is about how there's a company, what was it called? Avant, where the hotels get all of their.
Oh, Avendra.
Avendra, I guess, is this big company where the hotels can go. And so like if someone owns a Hyatt hotel, then they can go to Avendra and look at that level, whatever that type of Hyatt hotel it is, and they can go do a purchase for all the things that need to go into that hotel because Avendra has, a way to make that available to the owner of that hotel or the management company of that hotel. And in property management, we never had that. So we were going, I went to Bed Bath & Beyond myself 4 carts at a time with my Suburban. Like this is how for 10, 15 years that we stocked houses. And what's available in a Bed Bath & Beyond, in general, when that existed, what was available in their entire inventory, not just in one store, varied. And then when you talk about you're just going to your local store, you can't keep consistency that way. And we didn't have access to what the hotels had access to. And so what Ashley has created with Inhaven is literally like the Avendra. It's like the way that we can have a consistent thing that's available at a consistent tier or, level of luxury or whatever, so that we can always have that same stuff in each property and the guests can begin to understand the consistency of what they can expect with our brand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I talked to a lot of people, and if you look at any other hospitality industry, restaurants, airlines, rental cars. They don't source anything from Walmart or Costco or Target. They all have professional supply chain solutions. And so Inhaven is helping our property managers maintain their standards through this professional supply chain solution.
Yeah. It's so much. I always talk about, how the sausage is made, but like it's from a homeowner standpoint, I think most homeowners are always grateful for the work that we do, managing their house and creating revenue for them. But there is so much that goes into it. It's not just like we take pictures, post it online, clean it, and then like check it. There's so much, and there's these details that have to do with the kitchen and bathroom that have always been important. But literally, number one, being able to have a process and a system, which we use Breezeway and we love it, to track the inventory and to, create task management to get these problems solved, and then have a tool like Inhaven where we have access to these items at the commercial level on an ongoing basis to replace when there's things missing and not have to go buy a full set, which is what we used to have to do with Bed Bath and Beyond. It is like such a huge undertaking to, number one, understand that problem, and then number two, solve it, and then have this company that can bring us that solution. And so I think it's great for homeowners to understand, like, this is something that has been many years in the making, that maybe is not something that you think about as a homeowner, but it's really important. And there's a whole bunch of people working on it all the time. And I think it's probably good for a homeowner to understand we're working on it, like at least at Abode and all the companies that Ashley works with. With Inhaven, it's like these are companies that care about this stuff enough to find out about a company like Inhaven and work with them and put the time in. And I think that's really cool. And then from the vacation rental standpoint, if you're doing this job and you're managing houses, like, I can't imagine there is a world in which you're hearing us talk about this and you're not at least jealous if you're not like literally like Googling Inhaven right now. Because I will say that, like, to me, Inhaven is kind of like our religious evangelical thing that we have going with like Breezeway. I feel like these are our two softwares or tools that we use where it's like none of us can remember how we did this before we work with them, right? Like I don't think my team can't remember like how we did task management and operations before Breezeway. The people that have started since we started using Breezeway, when we tell them like, oh, this is only the last few years, they're like, what? And I feel like it's the same with Inhaven. And it's like, give it another couple years with Inhaven. I think we're all going to be, anyone that is new that comes to the team, when we say like, oh yeah, before Inhaven, we used to have this spreadsheet, they're going to be like, what? And it's like, yeah, it becomes like completely integral, and you can't even imagine a way to do it without that. And so I think that's just something to think about. And I'm not trying to be like a cheerleader or whatever. This is just how I am. But it's just so true. It's like, it's come up in my conversations with my team and people in the industry at conferences or whatever so many times lately that it's just like, thank God that we have this tool. And I think it's good for homeowners to understand what we've all been through and where we got to now and how there's been these great solutions.
I think the other thing to know is that working with Inhaven, it feels like a growing for both of us when we problem solve.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll go to her and just mention something I'm doing and not even thinking of asking her about anything. She's got an idea for me.
Yeah.
And so it's very much a cooperative partnership that I think helps us both grow. And they're always really interested in my feedback because I am in the trenches. And so they really take it to heart, which really feels nice, that they're like, oh, you're validated. We're both validated.
Yeah.
And I just really depend on them for that. And they will, like, if I'm looking for something, they're off and running, looking to see if they can find what it is what I want.
Well, it's like hospitality. I've been thinking a lot about hospitality over the last year because we do trainings with the team and we're just working on some projects regarding hospitality. And I have done a lot of like discussions about like how we work so hard to provide hospitality to our homeowners and our guests, right? And how, it's so important that we give them the thing that we told them we were going to give them for the price that we told them it was going to be, and that we go above and beyond that with like special care and anticipating needs and solving problems for them, and that we have this like personal connection. But I think it's really interesting to think about like hospitality within our team or within our team and our partner companies that we work with. And like, this is a perfect example. It's like if homeowners are listening and you don't work with a boat and you're looking at like a company that you're going to hire, or you're looking at the company that you're already working with and you're trying to understand if they're doing a good job, you can try to investigate through conversations with them or whatever, like what are their relationships like within their own team? Because if a company cannot have good hospitality between its own team members or between its company team and then the other partner companies they work with, like how are you really expecting that they're going to offer really good hospitality to the guests and the homeowners? And so I think that, this is not possible without great partners that are building companies that make a difference, that like are well thought out and that are actually helpful. But I really value being able to notice the hospitality that we have within our team and within our combined partner teams, because it makes me feel so hopeful for like how much better we can continue to do a better job of hospitality to our guests. You know,
It's a mindset that
Yeah,
we share.
totally.
You know,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
And
it's
it is
special.
always so fun coming out here and visiting you guys. I mean, what you're doing is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Julie and I were at Lolo's today. And
Oh yeah, I
visiting
want
the
to talk
team
about
there.
linens. Yes.
And
Lolo's is our laundromat. So wait, everyone might
yes,
not
go
know
ahead.
that.
Yeah.
So Abode bought the only laundromat in Park City 5 years ago. I think it maybe 6. And it was like this old laundromat, but it worked for a while, but we had to retool it recently. So we got all new machines. We have this like amazing team of people over there because it is a functional, like coin op, like pay laundromat for people in town that need it in Park City, but it's also our laundering facility for our linens for Abode. And so there's a whole amazing process that has been developed over there. But part of that that's so important is that Inhaven has been able to step in and help us, number one, with consolidating where we're going to get our linens from and making a better, consistent program for the linens that we can order. Again, similar kind of situation where we can have like that commercial, really high end linens, but we know we can always get the same ones so that we can really begin to have full consistency within our linens. And our linens are important to us because when guests pay a lot, they need nice bedding. But beyond just the ability to get that consistent, the linens and the quality of them, we've really always needed, after all these years, a good way to inventory the linens, and we haven't had it. And we've struggled over the years to figure it out, and Inhaven figured it out for us. And so we literally had a meeting today to discuss how we're going to implement this inventory plan. But it's like, 17 years, like, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars we have as a company paid for linens and never had such a good, well thought out inventory plan. But because of Inhaven now, we have that. And it's going to be just such a way for us to do a better job with our team, whether it's linen processing team, housekeeping team, who's, gathering the dirty linens, but then putting clean linens into the house. And it's so, like, I think from the homeowner standpoint, it's something to think about. Again, how the sausage is made. Like, maybe you think the linens is no big deal. We just bring over the clean ones, take the dirty ones out. But like, how do we manage this massive inventory? And our homeowners are paying the way we do it at Abode, and companies do this differently, but we have an annual fee that we charge the homeowner that goes towards the cost of the linens that we buy in bulk. And so really maintaining our inventory of linens is, as a company, super important to our ability to be profitable, because if we're not maintaining that inventory and we don't have consistency, we're going to lose money because we don't charge homeowners that much.
Right.
And so we're not going to be able to, make that work financially. So having an inventory program is really important. So if you're the homeowner, this is important to know that, like, the linen, even just the linens, the spoons, the forks, but let's just go linens here. It's a whole thing that needs its whole own process. Many human beings have full-time jobs involved with handling the process of linens and the inventory. And to know that, like, it literally takes an outside company to finally come in and solve this inventory problem. And I think from a homeowner standpoint, that's just something good to, like, be cognizant of what goes into that. And from a property management, vacation rental standpoint, I know what you probably feel like. Like, you probably have your linens and you're making do and you have some process in place, but you probably don't have like an awesome inventory or a way to handle that whole amount of linens that you have. And so Ashley's going to talk really quick about this inventory that we do and the process that she set up for us and that she's used with some other companies. Because I think from either the homeowner or the vacation rental company standpoint, this is like super interesting. And I really wish someone figured this out and told me about it 17 years ago.
And really, it's been working with you guys and many other property managers that all have had this similar challenge.
Yeah.
Right. You're not alone, and saying, okay, we can solve for this. We can make it easier. Working with Julie on this whole program. But, essentially what we have is a whole inventory tool as part of the Inhaven system where every item in your inventory it has a QR code associated. So your field teams can scan inventory out and put them in the home. And then, Julie will know like which property inventory is going into and which property inventory is going out of. So it's a whole system of tracking and managing your inventory across your portfolio of homes.
Yeah, I mean,
Julie's like, I'm speechless.
Yeah, I'm speechless. No, it's very what I want to say, reassuring to have something in line so we can really keep track of what's happening. And I think between the quality of the product itself and wanting to maintain it well and keep track of it
Yeah.
is, highly motivating. So
Yeah.
And it was fun today to have Wendy from Willows around the
Yeah,
table.
yeah.
And the team, the whole team there was really, as we were kind of going through the whole process, then to go to the laundry facility and say, okay, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
How do we make
It's
this
huge.
easier? How do we, because you're managing a ton of linens there.
It's like
And so
a
it was great to
really
talk to her.
confusing,
Yeah.
complicated process. Because when you think about it, you're talking about different sizes of pillows and pillowcases. There's twin beds, queen beds, king beds, right? There's all the different sizes of towels,
Yeah.
right? There's like, there's the, hand towels and the washcloths and the bath towels and the hot tub towel. There's so many unique items in an inventory in a linen inventory program. And then there's the whole concept of like stain removal, which Wendy, who is like the head of operations with our laundry facility, she is like this total guru. I don't even want to
she's
tell
a chemist.
people. Yeah, I don't even want to tell anyone because they're going to try
Yes,
and steal her. But like she has figured out stain removal in like crazy ways. So she does all that. Plus they have a whole process over there for how they get things processed through stain removal and then washing, drying, folding, rolling and organizing each, because we have them roll so each bed set of linens, so the fitted sheet, the flat sheet, and the pillowcases gets all put together and rolled up so that they can bring it, so the housekeepers can easily grab as many bed sets of linens that they need. It's just like it's such a bigger process than I think any homeowners really realize. And I think for vacation rental companies out there, we're all just doing it. Like we're just making it work, but having some part of this optimized process created, QR codes where we can scan in and count the linens that are coming in and out and know where they're going. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And it's so fun visiting the home. So Julie and I did some home tours and and other clients, one of the other clients I was at recently, doing a home tour with them, and in their towels, they were using Sharpies to mark their labels.
Okay.
And so, that's fine. They take their linens to a much larger commercial laundry facility where, there's a lot of mixed inventory. And so they want to know, these are our linens.
Yeah.
And seeing that, I thought, okay, well, our manufacturers can just put that label with your brand on it for free. And so it's just great getting out there and seeing the homes and seeing the opportunities where we can really just help from an
There's so
inventory
many
management perspective.
solutions, right?
So
that
many
have been out there.
solutions,
But when you're the property management company and you are a small business, so you're probably not overstaffed and you are grinding away with all these details, whether it's, making sure a house is set up properly initially, keeping it up to date and keeping it maintained and keeping it enhanced and making sure, all the things that go wrong are fixed and making sure all the heating and cooling is working and the plumbing and the everything. And then getting photographs and marketing it and then finding guests and booking the guests and then booking their concierge and getting them here. And I mean, it's like so much. And so you don't have the ability a lot of the time to get into the nitty gritty of like, oh, could we have a custom tag on our sheets? But oh my God, obviously this is such a great idea. So that when someone comes to the table, like in a vendor situation with software and a plan to be able to offer us the goods that we need to make this better. And then they're willing to take the time, go to our laundry facility, come to the houses, see with our team how this all works so that they can have those good ideas that maybe we just don't have the time. We haven't had the brain power to even stop for 1 minute and think about that in 17 years. It's just such a gift. You know what I mean? Because it's like when I get told that I remember that Julie first told me about these tags months ago and she sent me a picture and email. And then today she said, remember that tag, we're going to do that. And I was like, wait, I didn't even remember that she sent me the picture because it was part of a million other things.
Yeah,
But because Julie is dedicated to this on our team and because she has Ashley and Inhaven working with her and we have this like partnership that we can work together and support each other, we could actually get this done. And it is crazy. Like you don't want to spend your life looking like I don't want to operate out of fear as a business owner. And I don't want to spend my time looking back and like regretting things I would have done differently. There's a thing that's like on LinkedIn right now where somebody posts like for vacation rental companies, like, what are your top 10 mistakes that you've made that you wish it would do something differently? And I love the concept. I read all of those posts like religiously. But when they asked us to do it, they asked Rob and I to do one of those posts and list our top 10 mistakes. And I kind of struggled because I was like, well, every mistake we've made is what we've learned from. And that's how we got here. So I hate to like say it's my worst mistake because it's still like my best, even if it's my worst, because that's how we figured all this out. So I do struggle with like the idea of mistakes being bad because I know they're the only way we got to where we are. And I don't like to look back too much except for to learn from stuff, right? Because what's the point? Like, let's keep moving forward. But when you look back at all the years and all the stuff that we've been through to figure out how to keep houses nicely, to stock the kitchens and the bathrooms, to have consistent, like the companies we've had to work through to order our linens, which are usually hotel linen provider companies, but the way that they're set up is not conducive for property management companies. Some of these guys have made it easier, but it tends to be sort of sporadic, and it's hard to get a hold of someone, or it's hard to find out when your order is going to show up. And these are great people that do that business, but they don't have the technology that Ashley has behind her, and they don't have the ability to create the processes. And so finally, after all these years of like piecing all this together with Bed Bath & Beyond and random linen providers and whatever, and not being able to have consistent inventory. So now that Inhaven's here, it's like, it's just such a huge thing. And I think it's great for homeowners to, number one, understand that like, hey, at Abode, we care about this so much, and look at what's possible. And if you're not with Abode, like to know what you should talk to your property management company about, what might be possible for them. And then from the vacation rental standpoint, like, hey, if you're in the trenches and you're doing what I did, like going to some store to buy all this stuff for the kitchen and bath, like on a ongoing, like every other week basis. And it's trying to like make sure that you're making your money back on what you spend, trying to stock the house, or trying to force a homeowner to go do it themselves, and what you're trying to do to figure out your linen program. And I see people talking about this all the time in mastermind groups and whatever, like, how do you handle linens? It's such a drama. And I always tell them about Inhaven, because it's like, okay, yes, this always has been totally dramatic and insane, but it's not anymore. And I think it's going to take a while for everyone to understand like this is actually solved, but it's the coolest thing that it is. So thank you.
Thank you guys. It's been a process together. Of doing this.
I mean, it's a total real valid need. Like you are solving such a real problem. And ever since I first met Ashley and this whole idea was put up, I was like, oh God. Like, and I feel like what you've been doing with your company has really grown and sort of bloomed into something more and more like amazing, and can help our industry overall. And if we had more time, then we could talk all about standardization. And she's doing so many cool things. But even if you just stick to the point about making it possible for property management companies to standardize what's in the kitchen and baths and all those detailed items, and then the linen process and your ability to order consistent linens, to put the tags on it, like, oh my God, what? You know how many linens we've had like either lost through getting mixed up with another company's linens before we had our own linen laundering program, or how many random linens we got from other companies,
right?
And feeling like, oh crap, we ended up having to go take their linens back to them. Like of course we could have solved that with custom tags, but like, anyway, now we can finally do that. It's just crazy. And I think it's good for everyone to hear that this progress is happening in our industry, that there are solutions out there. I don't know, maybe if you're a property management company, it's good to know that like you can hear, like, we're doing it. It's working. You can do it too. And I just, I don't know. I used to listen to podcasts back when we first started, and I would hear people talking about some, not this exactly right, but some probably much smaller things. And I would hear how they were solving some problem, and it would be like, oh my gosh, they told me they did this with their, I don't know whatever it was. And it was like, I don't know, maybe how they did some sort of marketing, or the way they did a listing description or something. I'd be like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. Like, and it just felt like people were out there, like inventing the wheel or something. But I think as a small business owner, some of these solutions are just like such a gift in a way that I don't know if everyone can understand it. But hopefully after listening to this episode, you can kind of get that, like, not only are all these details so complicated and hard to figure out, and also the fact that we haven't had solutions, but now like it's all coming together, and the industry is growing, and we're getting more tech solutions and more people involved in our business that can help solve all these things. And I don't know, we're super grateful. So
we're super grateful for you guys.
Yay.
So thanks
We
for
should
being
hug it
such
out.
awesome
Like we
partners.
should sing Kumbaya.
Yes, exactly.
Instead, we should actually have a glass of wine, but I have to go to a parent teacher conference next.
Oh.
So yeah, Ashley has 4
That's
kids.
boring.
What are the ages?
4, 6, 8, and 11.
Which is crazy. Wait, what? Boys, girls?
So 2 girls, a boy, and then a girl.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's a prince. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a prince.
Yeah.
And I have 3 kids, which I always talk about, and I have the opposite because I have the 2 boys and a girl.
Yep.
And so like Ashley and I feel like I instantly like really wanted to be her friend and like bonded with her because she's like a woman business owner, and she has kids like hers are littler than mine. And somehow she has 4 kids, you guys. Like seriously, that's some shit right there. And she's like killing it in business and like growing her business and like solving all these problems and like caring about what her customers need. And so I think it's just like so inspiring. Obviously, I'm bought into the religion of Inhaven. But then to like be able to work on an ongoing basis with another business owner who, and Julie is a mom too. Julie has, how old's your daughter?
26.
Can you believe that? Julie has a
No.
26-year-old.
Very
Impossible. And her daughter's like super successful and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She is. She's great.
It's like mom life over here. It is a
Yeah.
kumbaya moment.
It is a kumbaya.
Hashtag mom life.
Yes.
And there's
mom.
That's right.
Yeah.
there's someone on Ashley's team that I think I've talked about probably a decent amount, or at least if I haven't talked about her that much on here, I talk about her all the time in my office. Megan, and her name used to be Megan Moylan, but it's Megan Myers now because she got married, and
Yep.
she has like the coolest podcast called Workflows and Espressos, and we're all obsessed with it on my team. We love her podcast. I like send it out to my team a lot. I send out her
Great.
episodes like, you have
Yeah.
to listen to this about blah blah blah. Anyway, so Megan is now working with Ashley at Inhaven. So it's just like honestly like kismet, like all the parts of the universe are coming together, and it's like some sort of weird like karmic positive what's going to happen next. Like, we're taking over.
We're taking over.
You're also taking over.
And Megan's pregnant. Oh, so another hashtag mom life. So yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll have to send this episode to Megan. She was going to be here today, and she would have been on the podcast with us, but
She
she's
would
not
have.
feeling good. Anyway,
Yeah.
you guys will have to come back.
We
Well, maybe we'll do like we could record an episode at the company retreat in May, and you guys could come and we could do it there.
Amazing.
I have so many
Yes.
big ideas. Okay.
She does.
Okay. Well, thanks to everyone. I know
Thank
there's
you.
probably either 5 or 5 million of you, but either way, we don't care. We're happy that you're listening, and we're glad that you're listening to our podcast, and we hope you come back next time. This is our last episode in our second season, which is more directed at homeowners for this second round of 10 episodes. So we don't know what our third season, our third set of 10 episodes leading from this 20th. Is this right, Helen? 21st episode. And we're going to be then going up to our 31st or whatever episode, 30th. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
really bad at math. So yeah. But
Unconventional anyway, right?
Yeah.
we don't know what the topic will be for this next season, but we'll figure it out probably in the next couple of days, me and Helen. And in the meantime, please come back and listen to our next episode. Thanks for listening to the Hospitality Break Room.